So this video, we're going to be going over the Toreando pass. In my opinion, the Toreando pass is one of the most important passes in jiu-jitsu because the first thing you're going to have contact with when you're passing is your opponent's legs. So knowing how to properly control and attack immediately dictates the offense of the match. And as always, guys, if you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe to help support the channel. So the first principle to understand is that any pass I finish, I'm going to have to end chest to chest. So I'm going to have to clear his legs and eventually get to this position. So a common mistake a lot of people make is when they're trying to do a Toreando pass, they're on the outside and they have so much distance because they're scared their opponent's going to tie them up in something and they're trying to pass from really far away. With this distance, even if I completely clear the legs, I now have to get over top of him and down. So as I come in, he's going to frame with his hands and get his legs back in play. So what I want to focus on is as I approach, I kind of want to hinge at my hips, keep my legs relatively straight, and my elbows back like this. This allows me to kind of get in the zone that I'm dangerous because now I could knee cut, I could Toreando, but my legs are still back and he can't control. And that's where we're gonna build our offense from. So legs relatively straight, hinged at the hip, elbows back and entering here. From here, I have to assess his leg positioning to make a choice for what I want to do. I can't always force the pass that I want because his legs may not exactly be in the right position. So we're going to talk about what makes a Toreando pass available and how to finish it. So the first situation we're going to look at is my opponent is flat on his back. When I'm passing, he could also be on his side, and this changes it a little bit because since I need to get around and pin his back to the mat and get my chest tight, him being on his side makes it a little bit more difficult, and we will deal with that later. So the first thing is he's centered, we're approaching. To really hit the Toreando, I need his legs to be closer to him. Because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clear the legs and come around to this chest above chest positioning. But the further out his legs are, it's hard because if I try to go through this, it's in the way. So the more I back up to clear the leg to go around, then I'm further away. So even though I cleared the legs here, that other leg is gonna come over, I can't control. So I'm trying to crowd the space. If the legs are out a little bit, I might even use my forearms to kind of push them in. And I wanna kind of box him in this place where I have his legs kind of tight to his chest. From here, I can start making moves and decide where I wanna go next. So another big thing to keep in mind is where my opponent's legs are elevated at, right? So if my opponent's feet are really low, it's much easier to walk around, and that's the first situation we're gonna look at. If his feet are up a little bit higher, it's more difficult because as I try to control the legs, his feet are in my biceps and it makes it harder to clear. The last situation is his legs will be really high and I might start stacking. So we're gonna start with the finish. So we're gonna start with the finishing mechanics of just if his legs are low. So now his knees are kind of tight, his legs are low. We're not even gonna worry about the pant grips right now. We're just gonna use our palms. So I'm just gonna place my palms here. And when I go, I don't stay here. If I push, he'll often put his feet in my biceps. So what I do is I'm kind of close and then I detect the position and I'm gonna palm here. What I do is now I push his legs a little to the side and I wanna step over and go forward. What I don't wanna do is back up too much. A lot of people do this and now there's too much space. I need to be here and step over and stay in that chest above chest positioning. What happens is if I come around low here, he's gonna frame my shoulder with his hand, and now that helps slide him away. It makes it easier for this foot to start to come into play. So instead I come here, and now when he frames my shoulder, because I'm so high, he's pushing himself straight into the floor because my force is coming straight down. So as he pushes up, he stays put. If my force is coming from the side, when he pushes, he's sliding away from me, and I always wanna box him in. So I'm here, I could do the knees, I could even do the ankles sometimes, and I wanna step around. So once I get to this chest over chest positioning, I have my left leg kind of high, my right leg kind of near the hip, and if you drew a line straight from the center of my chest to his chest, I'm right above him. That's where I wanna get. From here, it depends on his response, how my finish is gonna be, but you wanna get to this first. A lot of people, they either come in too low on the side like I showed, or they even try to come into knee on belly. The problem with trying to come into knee on belly is as I lead with the knee, you can see I naturally start pulling my upper body away from that chest over chest positioning, and now he can use the shin, his frames, and start getting space to loop that leg over. Instead, as I come through and I get chest over chest here, now if he tries to frame my shoulder, it's so high and it doesn't push him anywhere, he'll often open this gap here. If he opens this gap, now it's much easier to come into knee on belly. So if you were to watch it live, it would look like I just went straight to knee on belly, but in reality, I'm clearing first and then I make that decision later. But again, I'm maintaining the integrity of that over top position. So all the Toreandos, like we're gonna have different entry points and different ways of doing it, but you're gonna end up with two primary finish mechanics, which is either gonna be a side control type finish, which could be knee on belly or side, or coming down in the side position. The other main finishing mechanic will be coming around to north-south. And this can happen for a few different reasons. I might hit here, and then he keeps this elbow knee tight and I can't get in, so then I can switch my hands and start progressing into a north-south type finish. So looking a little bit deeper at the different finishing mechanics, the first one we clear, we get this chest over chest positioning. The primary responses here will either be framing the shoulder, which is pretty common because most people expect the Toreando to come from here, so when he frames, he usually gets that space. When I go high, he ends up getting nothing or like a bicep here and it doesn't really do much. I'll drop to knee on belly, and once I drop to knee on belly, I can let go of this left arm now. I don't need it. I just want to control the top leg because this prevents him from lassoing the leg over. And again, the closer I am, the harder it is for that leg to come in. From here, it'll depend on what he does, but I usually try to crowd low on the leg so he can't try to thread this through to like 50-50. So I drop in low and I slowly take my time. I usually use my hands to help keep him center. If he tries to turn away, I'll push down with your shoulders. Yeah, I'll try to push down like this, and if he tries to turn in, I'll start using my chest here to also pin him down, and I slowly work my way into side. Another common situation here when you finish on the side is I'll clear, and then now he keeps this knee really tight. You can frame, yeah. Now from here, he can't lasso this because I'm so over top, but that elbow knee space is still really tight, so I can't get in that either. So often what I do is after I clear and I land here, I'm gonna switch my left hand to the knee. Again, I'm chest over chest, so even though I'm not in that space, he's pinned to the floor. And if he pushes on me, he's gonna stay in the same spot. So now I switch this hand from the ankle to the knee and I'm gonna push this open. Again, I come into knee on belly and slowly start working my way into side. So the next situation is more of a north-south type finish. What happens here is, again, I clear the legs, I come around, and now as I get here, I can either decide to do this, or some people actually spin themselves as you come around and you end up in this kind of a positioning. So instead of trying to finish the pass by coming straight into side, we're gonna focus on coming in from north-south, and what I wanna do is I let go of my legs and I wanna switch them quickly to the knees. As I get the knees, no matter how flexible he is, start bringing your feet up. I'm pushing his legs towards the floor. They cannot come in. So what I'm gonna do is as I clear here and I feel like we get this position, I'm gonna drop into like a tripod and I kind of use my like a bicep tricep area to kind of frame here. My hand comes to the knee like this. From here, he's gonna start framing and I just wanna try to keep him dead center, right? And I can start trying to push these open. If he opens too much on one side, I can come back to knee on belly on either side, or I just start digging my way down to land, right? So your main finishing mechanics will be either direct side or going to the north-south, tripoding the head and trying to work on the knees. All right, so the next mechanic to look at is the one-arm throw. So with the one-arm throw, sometimes maybe one of his legs is extended, so trying to do it here would be kind of tough, or just you feel for whatever reason he's really anticipating what you're doing. So all I do is I do that same kind of close in positioning, and I'm gonna get one leg first. And again, we're not gonna focus on the pant leg, we're just gonna do the ankle. So I go here, and I have my left arm ready, and I'm just gonna push this to the side and take a quick step around. I can do this to either side. Once again, I get that chest over chest positioning, while I'm in here, I'm gonna have my left arm ready because I know he's gonna try to throw this over to block. As long as I'm close, this is easy to block. If I'm out here, throw it over, this is gonna come in, right? But when I'm here and I clear, and I start throwing that over, it's very easy to block because I'm so close. From here, this is just gonna become the same pass we just did, right? So I do the one arm, and then as this leg comes over, I block it, switch, and now we're right back into the same pass sequence as before. Almost always he's gonna do that. If he doesn't, then I'm just gonna come into the ribs and slowly dig my way in. But I promise if the guy plays open guard at all, you're gonna be here and you start moving around. The other situation, I started off by talking about the legs low. The one arm throw is a lot better when they're in the middle, right? When they're in the middle with their feet aimed at your chest, most good open guards will be like this. Usually I'm using my forearms a lot to pummel, right? I don't go to the legs first with my hands because their feet will come to my biceps and they'll get control, right? So when his feet are here, I'm usually using my forearms, moving the feet around and stuff, and I look for the angle. Sometimes I can go straight to a two arm, but a lot of times a one arm is just easier to hit. Now I have this great angle here. He starts lassoing, that's hard. I start to come to the knee, push it out of the way, drop in, and finish. Another extremely powerful finishing mechanic for the one arm throw is instead of transitioning to the two arm, what we're gonna do is we throw it to the side, and my right knee, I'm gonna focus on pinning this leg to the floor. So I clear it and I land here. The power of this is once I pin this bottom leg to the floor, he always wants to realign his hips to face me. And as long as I keep good knee pressure on this leg, it's extremely difficult for him to fight that. So it's like a a position that I perch in before I go to the finish. So what that'll look like is we're here like this, I move and I clear and hit the knee. Once I've hit the knee, start turning back in, it's very difficult. I follow that and see now I've achieved the chest over chest positioning. Now as he pushes, he's not going anywhere. Now I can slowly finish and come around and consolidate the finish in the top chest over chest position. All right, the final situation in the center is going to be a stack type pressure. So sometimes you approach your opponent's keeping his feet really, really high. So it's hard to bring them back down. It's hard to throw by. So we have to change the attack a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is, again, I get chest over chest. I get really close. I'm going to go under the ankles or even the heels and I push the feet over the head. From here, I can transition into a lot of different passes, a lot of stack passes, but a really easy way to attack is just like the one arm throw we did before. I'm gonna get my knee on the leg, I start dragging this across, and it's the same kind of finish, right? So I start pulling him across and I keep my leg pinned on that leg, so as he tries to rotate back into me, he can't. I have him pinned. From here, I can slowly open this and finish in the chest over chest positioning. It's important to understand that I'm showing the Toreando pass, which is a super powerful pass, but realistically you will want to combine this with like knee cut threats, stack pass threats, double under threats if you like to do that. So it's one attack that we're using, but you should be able to mix this with multiple other weapons. So the next pass sequence is for when our opponent is side tilted. This is something Leandro Lo used to use all the time, and it's extremely powerful. It's a small detail, but completely changes the way you pass. So when my opponent is side tilted, it's very difficult because even if I clear the legs like I did before and got chest over chest, now he's still on his side. I have to get his shoulder blades pinned to the mat to really consolidate the pass. So even if I'm all the way down here, if he's on his side, he can still turn into a double leg, he can still push, he can still slide away. I need his shoulder blades to flatten to the floor. Okay, so what we're gonna do is as we approach here, we can do a bottom pant leg and an ankle grip on top like this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my angle of attack so that my far shoulder, in this case my left shoulder or the outside shoulder, is gonna try to impact this way. Almost always when you drive in, they're gonna frame with their hands. They'll either already have a cross collar grip here, like this, or they'll just frame with their hands. And what I do is as I drive this, go ahead and frame. As I do, you can frame with both, whatever, right? As I drive, that's gonna center him flat. His own frames and arm are gonna function like a frame or a joust to drive his back to the floor. So we're here like this, he frames, boom. You see this flattens him. Now once he's been flattened, it's easy for me to continue my movement around, and very often I'll finish this pass sequence. You can move that way a little bit. Right? Very often I'll finish this pass sequence digging into a north-south type finish. Again, I start to dig in here, he brings his knees up and in, and I start focusing on shucking those down. I just as easily could be here like this, frame and drive, and come into knee on belly. Potentially, if I drive here, frame, I might even go all the way around to the other side. So how you approach will vary. You could even do this one a little bit, sometimes like with one arm. So I could just have this here like this, and he starts to frame, and I can drive like that. And again, I end up in the same kind of positioning. The main idea here with pretty much all passing or all of jiu-jitsu is that you need to assess the positioning of your opponent to decide what you want to do next. If you're just going in going, I want a Toreando, I want a Toreando, it can be very difficult because it may not be the right situation. So what I'm doing is showing you all the different options and setups for ways you can do the Toreando, but you need to mix this with other attacks. Another way you can deal with this situation instead of using the shoulder impact to flatten him is you can pass towards the top side. There's benefits and drawbacks to this, but with here I would be on this side and he's faced into me, and now I either jump or I clear really quick and start to step in here. Here I can drop into the leg drag type finish, or I could try to go immediate chest over chest, and as he recenters, we come back into the same finishing mechanics. Another big aspect of this though is if he stays side tilted when I do this, as long as he continues this way, I'm gonna end up chasing the back. Almost always when you do this, they will turn back flat into you because they don't want to do that and they expose the pass. But if you come around and he starts turning away and keep going, yep, we're going to end up having to chase the back here, right? So either his shoulder blades are flat and you're looking for some form of a pass variation, or he stays on his side a lot and then you end up chasing the back. So there's a lot of other details to a good Toreando. I didn't really get much into the pant controls. They can be extremely useful in transitions. I'll save that for another video. I just wanted you guys to understand the structure of what makes the Toreando work. A lot of times I never even grab the pant leg when I do it because you should be able to use this both gi and no gi, as well as the pants can be very unreliable. A lot of times I'll be fighting and the pants slide up here, so as you're looking for it, his leg's moving. So it's more important that you know how to use your forearms and control the feet and then set up your passes from there. And if you guys like this content, be sure to check out my website as well, johnthomasbjj.com. And if you guys like this content, be sure to check out my website as well. It's www.johnthomasbjj.com. I have a lot more organized systems on there as well, because sometimes on YouTube I have to focus on titling things for the algorithm. It can be harder to find the techniques. So on there I have things a little bit more organized. And as always, if you guys like the content, be sure to like, share, subscribe. Thanks a lot.